how important it is to own your voice to the point of owning your own show. Imagine you are the next Netflix. Why would somebody do that? The amount of production, the amount of time, the amount of things that gets into that is absurd. But how owning your voice to the point of owning a show is the way to go for financial independence. We're going to explore that today with one of the best people I know talking about money for Black women. Rachel Rodgers, welcome to the Brown Way to Money. This is the Brown Way to Money podcast, where women of color in business find their financial independence path. Because financial success is within our reach, but by playing by their rules, it is only going to take us halfway there. To succeed, we must take ownership of our voice with money. So, welcome to the Brown Way to Money podcast. Rachel Rodgers, welcome to the Brown Way to Money. I'm excited to have you here. Let's dive into the topic because you're doing something wonderful, great from, all the industry's eyes, like, wow, what is she putting together? But I want to know why. Why a show like this? And to the person who is going to be watching every single episode, why that matters.
Yes. Well, I mean, what we see on TV impacts us, right? It impacts what we believe we can create for ourselves, right? Like when we see someone living in a fabulous apartment in Paris, we're like, maybe I can do that, right? But if every time we see people pursuing exciting goals, making their dreams come true, traveling, starting businesses, whatever it may be, having incredible careers on TV, and it's somebody that is always white, right? And the rest of the global majority is just excluded from that. It starts to make you think that those dreams are not for us, right? And that it's not possible and it's not within reach. So I want to create something that shows us that it is, right? A reality TV show that is uplifting. So many of the business shows that are out there are about tearing down the entrepreneur's business and telling them everything that they do wrong. Now, I'm a business coach, and I do sometimes have to tell my clients what's not working, right? And point out to them what's not working to help them grow. So there will be some of that, but this show is really about showcasing these incredible entrepreneurs, their incredible stories and journeys, how they were able to make something out of nothing, because that's what entrepreneurs are doing, right? Especially entrepreneurs of the global majority. They are not backed by venture capital. We know that because we see all the stats related to venture capital where, the entire global majority gets like 2% of billions of dollars in venture capital funding, which means that we have a world being created only by white men, right? Like only white men's ideas get funded. So that is a problem, right? Same thing with, we know that when we're creating small businesses, we don't have a rich uncle that's backing us, right? We're figuring it out and we're scraping by and we're making something out of nothing with our own two hands and our ideas. And I think that is a story worth telling. I think that's a story worth capturing. I think it's a fascinating story. I mean, it is the hilarity. Some of the stories that I heard that like helped, how they figured out how to build a brick and mortar business, right? Or how to create global companies that some of these entrepreneurs have created. It is fascinating and inspiring. And that's TV that's worth watching. And that's from a business perspective. From a travel show perspective, right? We see these travel shows and it's typically almost all, if you look at travel shows, almost every single one of them is hosted by a white man. Every single one. It is so irritating, right? Why don't we get to see women of color, right? Other people and their perspectives as they travel the world, right? Why are we only interested in a white man's perspective as they travel the world? And so there's very few of those. There's the only one was one that literally just launched, I think in the last year, which is Tracy Ellis Ross's new show about traveling solo, which is fascinating. But even from a travel perspective, it's like this consumption and like, how much of this culture can I consume while I'm here versus like, how can I really connect with the people of this culture? How can I really connect with the businesses here, with the customs here, with how things are done here. So I just want to showcase a different way of travel. I want to showcase a different way of reality TV, a different way of being in business, and just all the people who are out here. We are traveling, right? Historically excluded people. We are building businesses very successfully, and our stories are worthy to be told. And I'm just annoyed that they're not being told. And I have, I have thought about creating a TV show for a long time. I have shopped it around to a lot of places. And at some point, we just got to be like, you know what? I'm going to do it myself. And I think that anyone who wants to
Yeah.
see TV like this should back it, right? Because it's the same way, right? When a Black movie's coming out, we're like, we got to go to the movies. We got to go buy tickets, bring all your friends, right? Go see, because we have to financially support the things we want to see more of. And so this is another example of that.
There is so many things I want to say now. The first thing that comes to mind is that Joe Franco, you have to connect. Joe Franco is,
Yes, I
you
know
know,
her. I mean,
you
I
know,
don't know her personally, but I know of her. I watched her travel show, loved it.
girl, she is like, for visa purposes, she is stuck in Belgium and she would love to co-create something like this because she's now making like the same show. And Joe Franco,
Mm,
is like we as a women of color, as a Black, as a brown, we're coming to a point to understand that we have to own our voices. And that's leading to
yes.
my next question, right? How important it is, not for you as a company, as a Hello Seven or as a Rachel, the business coach, but for you and your family and the series of events that you guys have taken up to today to own your voice in a time where the world is telling us that it's not safe to do so.
Yes. Well, here's the bottom line. I exist, right? We exist. We will continue to exist. We're not going to go away. We're not going to go be silent. We're not going to hide because the fascists of the world want to create a different type of world. I just don't. The bottom line is you cannot stop progress. You can attempt to, you can commit atrocities in your attempt to, but the bottom line is progress is progress. And you are not going to stop said progress, right? So we are moving away from a world that is, where the majority of the resources are owned by one identity, a very small few, right? We're moving away from that kind of world. And, whether they like it or not, it's going to happen. It is absolutely happening. That
It
is
is
what we're
happening.
watching. I mean, how horrific everything is because this is the prelude to the progress that we want to see. That is what I truly believe. And, so I'm not going to hide my voice. I have things to say. I have a perspective. And the people that that are part of my community say, right? Like they have things to say. They have talent that is worthy of being seen and heard, right? And so I want to create a platform for them as well. So yeah, we're not going anywhere. And I think too, sometimes when you collaborate with people like a network, for example, or a production company that is not 100% aligned, and I've watched this happen to some of my friends that have created TV shows, it just doesn't go well because they have a brand, right, that they have created online. They have a community of people that trust them and that they trust, right? And so then they get taken on a global scale. And it could happen with TV, it could happen with books, it could happen with any of a podcast that, a network wants you to do, where they start to say, well, no, just don't, we like your brand, but take out this part, right? We like your brand, but don't do that anymore, right? We like your
Exactly.
brand, but we'd like you to say this. Can you say this? And it's like, no, I cannot.
No.
So it's like I gotta be me, right? It's like the brand that got the attention is not the brand that is curated by some corporate people in a boardroom saying, we think people will like this more, or we just prefer it because, we have shareholders to answer to and they don't like that you're talking about the person they voted for in this way.
Uh,
And it's just like, I don't want to
yeah.
be controlled in that way. And so I think the right partner would be amazing, but the wrong partner, I've seen it with my friends. They wind up getting one season because their brand is so bastardized, right? Like that it no longer fits. It no longer, works, right? And it also feels unnatural to them. They feel like they're not being true to themselves and honoring their values. And so that could be a problem.
So you are now like half of the season done. The first season is already recorded, right? What are
Yes.
you still looking on that other half?
Yes. So we have more entrepreneurs that we want to interview and connect with. We have some incredible people lined up that have like amazing stories that we're so excited to be able to showcase. So we have many of those to do. And then there's sort of like the connective tissue, some of those moments that like, filming direct to camera where you're like filling in the gaps, right? I think it's called the confessional, right? In reality TV, where someone is sitting direct to camera and sort of filling in the gaps of the story to make sure that the audience can follow along. So like we need to do some of that as well. But yes, we have a whole, half a season's worth of interviews to still do. And then the other big part of it to finish season 1 is the editing. Editing alone, like that alone is an enormous project. It's almost
It's
like filming
yeah.
is easier.
Exactly. I know. I'm like, girl, that's a whole people takes like years on editing. Like movies
I
takes years
know.
on editing. So it's a whole
Yes.
thing. But I'm thinking here, so you obviously have an audience that they share the belief with you that we should all be millionaires, right? How
Yes.
is this show complementing that idea and kind
Yes.
of like taking from the book to the movies to the reality to this whole world where we actually can all be millionaires?
Yes. Well, I think it does it by it's taking the next step, right? So if you've read my book and you're inspired and you're like, okay, what is my path to becoming a millionaire? What steps am I willing to take? I'm starting to take those steps. And then if you, while you're working towards that, are watching TV and seeing people who look like you, seeing people of every identity who are doing exactly or who already accomplished exactly what you're working to do, and you get to hear their stories, you get to see what they've built, right? You get to hear the behind the scenes of how they made it happen. Because I think there's a lot of very successful entrepreneurs that it's all shiny and glossy and exciting to see, like the front facing part of the brand, but backstage, honey, it is a
Yes.
mess. People are running around looking crazy, right? It's stressful. It's madness, and that's what we want to show, that madness. We want to show that part, because when we experience it, we think it's not normal. We think, oh, I barely, I'm barely gonna make payroll this week.
Uh-huh.
This is normal, right? For a lot of businesses, right? Or, I'm taking this huge risk. Like, am I crazy? Lots of entrepreneurs are, almost literally all of them are taking big risks. I have an employee who's gone rogue, right? That is normal. Someone's trying to steal my IP, also normal, right? Like, so it's like building a
Somebody
business.
stole my IP, right? It's just like
Yes. Exactly.
it's
It's so
so many
funny because
things.
I've had TV executives say to me like, "Okay, well, where's the drama though?" Like, because people, there has to be tension. Otherwise, people aren't interested, right? In hearing a story, unless there's a tension in there that's like there's something that you're waiting to see. How's it all going to work out? And I'm like, "Have you met an entrepreneur?
It's like every day is tension here.
Kidding? You
Yeah,
solve
yeah.
one problem and then there's a new 3 more crop up where that one got resolved, right?"
Yeah.
So to me, the drama is built in, right? You don't need to manufacture drama with entrepreneurs. It is already there.
Yeah, but it's so funny how these producers think, right? Like they are just selling, like how can I sell this story? And I think that's one of the things that makes these kind of shows beautiful is
Yes.
like, I don't want to sell the story. I want to showcase your story. There are two different
Yes.
things there, right? I want
Yes.
you to be seen. I don't want to profit out of your story and you sharing. Like I can tell from my experience, I have been traveling since I'm 19 years old and I'm about to be 31 in a week from now. And for the last decade, I've been an entrepreneur. The things that you tell people are not the things that they are, immediately grab to. It's like, oh, yes,
Mm,
this year we just traveled to New Zealand and Portugal. We just traveled to New Zealand and Portugal. And
right.
people, it's like, wait, what? Did you just do that with a baby and a business and then all of the things, right? So I think there is so much value in understanding these type of shows kind of like not only reflect what you can be doing, but also
Yes.
reflects back to the entrepreneur that you have done a lot,
Yes.
right? It's like
Yes.
I saw your what is it called? I just forgot
The
the word.
trailer.
The trailer on one lady that was telling like we are doing this and we are doing that, and I was watching like, girl, how? Like,
Mm,
how did you do
yes.
that?
Yes.
How are you putting together these stories with these stories?
A lot of it is sort of, I'm just following what's interesting to me. So if it's interesting to me, I think it will be interesting to other people. And so and I come across so many people that like, it's people that I've come across that I'm like, I gotta know how, right? Like, how did you get here? How did you do this? What was the pathway that led you here?
Right.
And so, I've encountered businesses or entrepreneurs that I just find fascinating. And so I'm excited to like not just interview them like a podcast would, but like actually go with them to their place of business and see what they built. And they tell me about their design choices, and like they tell me what the inspo was, and they tell me, how did you get the money together to make this happen? And
Yeah.
like all of those things. And then there's also different features where I'm hanging out with these entrepreneurs, right? We're going to get a coffee, we're going to the farmers market together, we're going to do things together. So you just get to see another side of this person. And I think it's fascinating. So my creative process is really just like, what is interesting to me? What is fascinating to me? And, too, it's also some of it is incoming. Like people, we've done my creative director, who is the director of the show, and she is amazing. She also has a point of view, right? And has ideas about what would be interesting. And she has a process. Unlike me, my creative process is just messy. I'm
Okay.
like, ooh, let's do this. Whereas for her, she's like, okay, let's do a call out for entrepreneurs that fit this criteria. And then let's get on the phone and talk to them all. And so, we have a team of people that have, been interviewing, like do a pre-interview with some of the folks that we're considering featuring on the show. And so that's how some of the stories that we wound up capturing, that's how they came to us, is they came to us directly, but with this, by answering this call. And then for others, it's just me hand plucking people that I think would be so amazing for people to see,
Interesting. Yeah.
So that's kind of the process. And I'm sure it'll start to have more rhyme and reason as we get into season 2. But in season 1, it's just been like, I don't know, figuring it out as you go. And it's the same thing with business, right? It's like, I've never tackled this kind of problem before. Let's figure it out, right? So that's just what it is. And everything is, that's what being an entrepreneur is.
Right.
You're like, okay, this is the end product I want to get to. What do we need to do to it? Okay, let's do this. Step 1. This is step 2. This is step 3. And then you learn as you go and you refine and perfect as you go.
And the thing is that you guys have said on the Kickstarter, I think I saw it, that if you don't get fully funded, you are not doing it. And that is the drama. I'm like, what? Everybody, I will leave the link on the show notes. Go and check it out. And if you feel in alignment, just back up this. But what would you say, Rachel, to the person that is reading, that is listening to this? Why ultimately they will want to jump in this boat?
Yes. Well, I just think this is a movement, right? It's a way of taking a stand and saying, we're going to create what we want to see. And I think if you like support entrepreneurship, if you want to support historically excluded entrepreneurs specifically, if you just want uplifting, motivating, soul satisfying television, right? Then these are all reasons to back the show and to help be a part of the founders, right? The original backers that make this happen. So what we're raising on Kickstarter is $155,000. We are more than halfway there at this point, but we still got a ways to go. And that capital is going to allow us to finish filming. I've already put my money in, right? So that's how we got here, where we have half the season filmed, but we also need to finish season 1. And then of course we want to like a behind the scenes episode for each episode of the show. You get a BTS episode as well. And then if we hit our stretch goals, we'll be able to fund season 2 also. So knowing, like doing things by yourself is hard. A lot of us have creative, amazing ideas that we aren't doing because we don't have enough funding for it, or by saying yes to that, we'd be putting ourselves in dire straits or taking money away from, our long-term goals and plans. And there's another way. And so part of my reason for doing this as well is to showcase crowdfunding as another option for your creative projects and ideas. And of course, we're going to share everything that we learned from the process. But the way crowdfunding does work, if you don't hit that goal of 155,000, which is a large goal for crowdfunding, most people's goals are 10 grand, 30 grand, maybe 50K, right? Like 155,000 is not a small goal. So it's a lot
Right.
for the Kickstarter platform. However, when we reach that goal, we're going to be able to execute this project and see it happen, and pretty quickly too, because money will not be stopping us. It won't be slowing us down, right? Like that
Yeah.
won't be part of the problem. So, and I would say the other thing is there are rewards. So if you back the project, you can get different rewards that are really cool that are not available in any other way. Like these are not things that I just regularly sell in my business, like being featured on the show, or just like swag, or coming to the premiere, which we'll be doing in New York in January. So yeah, so I'm excited about it. I have no doubt that this show is going to happen, and I have no doubt that we are going to raise what we need to raise, because I trust that my community is going to show up
Oh,
and
yes.
support this project. And I think it's something that we all want. People were very excited when they watched the trailer. And even if it's like if you back it at $5, even that you get updates on exactly what we're doing, how we're executing it. So you get a little bit of the behind the scenes in the form of essentially a newsletter, even backing at $5. So, you could back it at any level. Yeah. And I think it's something that when something resonates with you, like I've invested in a lot of businesses, I've invested in lots of things. I've invested in other crowdfunding campaigns as well. And I think when something just moves you and you're excited about something, you want to be a part of it. And
Yes.
so I think that's one of the reasons that people are backing it. They get to say, I made this happen. And also too, like if you back it at, I think it's like around $150, you get your name in the credits because we want to personally thank every single one of our backers that helped to make this show happen. And that's one of the most popular rewards. A lot of people are choosing that option because they want to see their name in the credits for the show. So,
Yeah. It's part of like what we've been talking about. You are being seen. Like
yes.
about how many times you go to the movies and you spend more than $50 and your name is not in that movie.
Exactly. And also,
And
your face ain't in the movie, right? Like your
exactly.
identity is not seen in this movie. Like this movie has nothing to do with your life.
Exactly, exactly. I'm like, that right there is puts things in perspective. So the last question I'm gonna ask you, Rachel, is are you gonna make your way onto the Netherlands to this entrepreneurial world?
Actually, Amsterdam is on our short list. So for season 2, we are considering Marrakesh, Amsterdam. We have New York as a potential option. Toronto is a potential option. So those are a few cities that we've talked about for season 2.
Okay, did you hear something that you liked in today's episode? If so, don't keep it to yourself. Go ahead right now. Yes, right now. Before this episode ends and send this episode to those 3 girlfriends that you know you can go to talk about finance, independence, money, business growth, entrepreneur life, and all of these juicy topics. Share this episode with them because that is the only way we can grow together. I'm Alejandra Rojas, your host, and I will see you next week.